Hello and welcome to this week's set piece from the Scottish Sun. I'm David Friel. I'm joined by Roger Hannah. And I think before we start, Roger, I'm not Robert Grieve, you're not Bill Leckie,
No.
but we're the standout stand-ins, hopefully.
I would like to think so. They've got good excuses for not being here. Robert's in Graz for
Out the country again?
Out the country again. Yeah, I don't think he pays tax in the UK.
I don't think. No.
He's there for Sturm Graz Rangers tomorrow night, Thursday, Europa League. And best wishes to William Arthur Leckie. He's under the knife this morning, getting his old dodgy shoulder fixed. So the old soldier with a new shoulder will be back here soon.
Yeah, we wish Bill all the best in his operation. Hopefully he's back soon. Given his big verdicts, a huge week for Scottish football. It always is. It was a busy weekend. We've got a busy couple of days coming up. I love this time of the season when you've got games Thursday, Sunday, Saturday in between as well. Huge Edinburgh Derby will come on to as well. Let's start with Europe. We'll go in chronological order.
Yeah.
Celtic kick things off against Braga Thursday night, 5:45 kick-off.
Don't be late.
At Celtic Park, don't be late. There's going to be a bit of a silent protest, 29 minutes. Brendan Rodgers already talking about the team bringing the noise. How do you see this one going?
It will go the way Celtic probably want it to go, I think. If Celtic can find their mojo again, they should have enough to beat Braga. But the caveat being, they haven't really found the mojo. You know, I think a point in Belgrade is a really good start to the league phase. 1-1 draw away to Red Star Belgrade, you would take that every day of the week. But they had to dig in. They weren't at their best for long spells in Serbia last week. You then come to Celtic Park on Saturday for the Hibs game. 0-0, stodgy, couple of players missing, couple of changes, not as fluid as you would expect Celtic to be in a home game. First of 3 home games in a week. Braga, you've said, Motherwell on Sunday, these silent protests continuing. It's difficult at the minute for Celtic to just kind of get going the way we know they can. And you hear the manager mentioned it last week, and then he went on Celtic TV yesterday to mention it again yesterday. I think he wants the fans to try and raise the players. It is a two-way street. The players need to do things to raise the fans, but I think he wants everything to connect again so they can get going, because they're not at their best.
I mean, it does feel like an old cliche about fast starts and bringing the noise and all that sort of stuff, but for Celtic in Europe it has been important. I mean, you even think back to, I know traditionally, and there was a real lull in terms of Celtic's home performances, home results, but even think back to that RB Leipzig game last year in the Champions League. I mean, Celtic's first half performance was absolutely outstanding.
Was
and it was, a lot of that was generated by the team and the fans working together. And if Braga are coming, you know, Braga will look at all their away fixtures and think Celtic Park, that's tough, but they'll be happy there's going to be a section of the fans silent.
Yeah, there will be. If we say a point in Belgrade is good for Celtic, Braga will think a point in Glasgow is good for them. They will be delighted, particularly with their domestic forms going at the minute. Managers under a bit of pressure. They'll be delighted to come. They may well come and park the bus, and then that will require a wee bit of, you know, Sebastian Tenekte playing well, Benjamin Nygren maybe playing better than he's been playing, albeit he set up the Iheanacho goal. Iheanacho, you know, got the goal in Belgrade, but then couldn't find a breakthrough against Hibs. Celtic will look to lean on him again, and the enigma at the minute is Daizen Maeda. What does Celtic do? They've tried him in the left, they've tried him in the middle, they've tried him in the right. It doesn't strike me, and I agree with Brendan Rodgers, he strikes me as a good guy. It doesn't strike me as the type who will go in a huff because he didn't get the move. But clearly, it is preying in his mind. Even if it's subconsciously, David, he's not the player he was last season, nothing like it.
You mentioned getting the mojo back. I think mojo's a banned word at Celtic Park since after what happened in 1989, but we won't get into that. But in terms of Daizen Maeda, it's trying to get him in the team. So Tenekte started pretty well. Iheanacho clearly gives Celtic something that they don't have in the squad as a focal point, a really good touch, everything. So you need to get Daizen Maeda into the team, you would think. There seems to be this sort of kind of sense that, he can't play right wing. I don't understand that. Why can't he play right wing? I mean, if you look at the first half against Hibs, Celtic's best chances came from Daizen Maeda down the right wing. Now, he might not be the most cultured player on the ball at times, but he can whip a ball in, and he's more comfortable doing that on the right. Is that a solution to get all three? And where Balikwisha comes in as well. Sometimes
it might be a solution, or you stick him on the left and see what Tenekte's like on the right hand side. Is that a possibility? They are the 3 best attacking options. You wonder then about the midfield. There was no Hatate or Nygren at the weekend. the midfield isn't as efficient as it was. It's not contributing the way it was. Even, you go back to the start of last season before O'Reilly left, and it was O'Reilly, McGregor, Hatate, and there were goals coming from that area of the team, there were assists coming from that area of the team, and it's dried up ever so slightly. And at the weekend there, Engels came in, McCowan came in, they couldn't quite bring what they brought last season. Paulo Bernardo has just disappeared off a cliff. And he cost a lot of money. People for a long time banged on about the Engels fee and the Daizen Maeda fee and the Austin Trusty fee. Bernardo wasn't cheap either, and he's not contributing. So the midfield's still an issue for me too.
You mentioned Braga would probably take a point.
Yeah.
If you look at the overall picture for Celtic, home games are going to be so important.
Of course they are.
It might be premature to say must-win game in Game 2, but I think if you look what the points tally Celtic want to get to guarantee, and I don't imagine Celtic going to Europa League thinking just qualify. I think they want to get in the top 16 at the very least. This is a must-win game, you would think.
I would say when you look at the other games that they've got, yes, it probably is a must-win game because there are harder games both home and away coming up for Celtic. I think they will win it. I do. I think Tenecte and Iheanacho will be big players for Maeda. Again, they'll get the three of them into the team. I'm not sure how, but they'll get the three of them into the team. McGregor, I think, needs to, try and pull the midfield with him, if you know what I mean, because the ones that are Nygren needs to show what he showed in that little flash in Belgrade when he created the goal. And if Hatate's not there, someone needs to step forward, David, and try and fill that void because, what's emerged is the backup midfield three, McCowan, Bernardo, Engels. They're not really pushing the first choice three the way the manager would like them to.
Yeah, Scales and Carter Vickers look certainties to start in the middle.
Yeah, Scales has improved.
In terms of the full-back positions, there's a lot of games for Celtic. Brendan Rodgers is clearly shuffling his pack. Yeah. Does he go back to Colby Donovan and Kieran Tierney? Does Tony Ralston stay in for experience? Does Saracic stay in because he was good against Hibs?
He was. Tierney will play. Tierney will definitely play. The right-back thing, while Alistair Johnson's out, he's got a bit of a conundrum because Tony Ralston was injured and Colby Donovan was terrific when he came into the team. Manager made a good point after Belgrade when he said he's not been used to that intensity, playing 90 minutes of first-team football twice a week. And it didn't surprise me when he was left out for Hibs. Wouldn't surprise me if he was back in the team for Braga because on form, he probably deserves to be in the team.
Yeah, I know, he'd been outstanding. That's the thing. So we'll see what happens with Celtic. 5:45 kick-off on Thursday night. Let's go from Glasgow to Graz. Rangers, Russell Martin, a step forward, then a step back. That's been the sort of, well, not even step forwards. He needs a run of results. He got one right at the death against Livingston. He needs another one. And I think Rangers would probably accept a draw. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, yeah.
Are they going to get it?
Away from home, they should be able to get it. But it's easy for me to say that, sitting here. The last week's been strange for Rangers. They beat Hibs and got for the first time something of a lift. And they lose to Graz. There are contributing factors in there. You look at the Mohamed Diamandi red card. But they were second best to Genk last week. They won at Livy. 45 minutes they played really well at Livy. They had a dip. They lost an equalising goal. Then they threw the kitchen sink at it. And Max Aaron scored in the 94th minute. Now, in a certain way, David, I feel sorry for Russell Martin because if Celtic had won 2-1 at Livingston in the 94th minute, people would be saying, that's what champions are made of, And Rangers do it in the 94th minute and the manager's getting booed off the pitch. So he can't do right for doing wrong, if you see what I mean. So they've got the win at Livy. They've got a wee run before the international break now of games where he has an opportunity, and it starts in Graz. If he can get a result in Graz, great. Goes to Falkirk on Sunday. So it's baby steps. We said in the show with Bill last week, it's baby steps for him. He just needs to win, then win, then win, and not think too far ahead because there might not be a too far ahead. So I think a point in Graz, all things considered, would be good for Russell Martin.
Is the situation retrievable for him? When you look at, it's unprecedented in my lifetime, as you said. There's fans on the pitch celebrating a winner, but then they go back into the stand and start chanting for the manager. Now, Russell Martin admitted after the game he didn't feel he could go onto the pitch and celebrate so he just went down the tunnel.
Yeah.
Can you come back from that? Because it seems to me that, as I said, it's a step forward, a step back, but it seems as if, to me, a vast majority of Rangers fans have just decided they don't want him there.
It would be the greatest managerial comeback of all time.
Right. You think so?
There's nothing, it would eclipse everything you've ever seen. I can't remember a manager being under such fire from so many sides of the support and winning them back. The problem he has is, so many of them didn't want him in the first place. Yeah. Then, I mean, he was booed off at half-time in the first pre-season friendly. I know. So, you know, that sort of set the tone. They got to win at the weekend. You know, as I said last week, I said to Bill last week in the show, and I stand by it, you know, Russell Martin at Rangers, Jimmy Tillien at Aberdeen. I hope the boards at the two clubs stick with the two managers, because I'll be fascinated to see how it all unfolds. You know, can Russell Martin, can he go on a run of half a dozen wins? Can Jimmy Tillien turn this round at Aberdeen? Because it would be two remarkable recoveries, different scenarios completely. A lot of Aberdeen fans are still behind Jimmy because of the Scottish Cup win. Not many Rangers fans are behind Russell Martin. But if he turns this round, David, honestly, the best managerial comeback, bar none.
Bar none. In terms of his team, he's stuck with the core, really. You've obviously got Mohamed Diamandi suspended for the Graz game. He didn't play at the weekend. Do you see him making many changes?
I don't see him making many changes at all. The back four looks a bit as well balanced as it has at any stage. You know, Cornelius coming in seems to give it a nice balance. Souttar's on the right next to Tavernier, and it looks okay. You would think he would just go with Conor Barron again, with Diamandi being suspended. Sometimes he shuffles the right winger. Is it Ant-Man? Is it Mikey Moore? Who's it going to be? Last week he played Chermiti. Does he give Miovski a European game this week? Does he give Chermiti an hour to see if he can score a goal? Does he give Chermiti a year to see if he can score a goal? It's strange. Miovski got his goal against Hibs, so he's fine. There'll be no pressure on him. They won't want any pressure building up on Yusuf Chermiti, because he came in with a horrendous scoring record, and he hasn't scored a goal yet. So I think they'll try and give him opportunities to get that goal, and maybe the next opportunity might just be tomorrow night in Austria.
Are we unfair as a country, as a nation, in terms of price tags? Because I'll go back across the city. Arne Engels, you can't say Arne Engels without saying it cost £11 million. Yusuf Chermiti has played, 3 or 4 times for Rangers, and everybody still bangs on about his price tag. Or are the Rangers fans in the wider world, you know, do you have to mention it because of the amount of money it was?
Of course,
and because of the scoring record, and because everybody was a bit surprised when it happened?
He's the second costliest player in 150 years plus at Rangers. So people are going, to look at it. He's costlier than, a Purcell or a Jelavic.
I know.
He's costlier than a your pal Mojo.
Yeah.
He's costlier than any of those other guys, Gabriel Amato, Rod Wallace, all the guys that came in 25 years ago. He's costlier than any striker that Steven Gerrard signed, any striker that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst signed. So with a price tag comes an expectation. There's Eddie Howe down south yesterday defending the price tag on Voltemada, who's come in from the Bundesliga. So price tags do matter. And if this guy succeeds, and Rangers fans will be desperate for him to succeed, if he succeeds, then everybody at Ibrox will get a feather in their hat. If he flops, the focus goes on Kevin Thelwell, who had him at Everton, sanctioned the second biggest fee in the history of Rangers Football Club to bring him in at a time when you could have got Lawrence Shanklin 7 goals in 10 games for nothing. They went for Chermiti. They need Chermiti to start scoring goals.
It was interesting because you mentioned Kevin Thelwell, and there's been so much focus on Russell Martin, his position, his decisions, everything. Chris Boyd's column at the weekend was talking about other guys behind the scenes. Kevin Thelwell, Dan Purdy, Patrick Stewart, for their decisions. They, oversaw the summer in terms of bringing in the manager, bringing most of the players. You could see what ones were Russell Martin's players, but there's no doubt Kevin Thelwell was fully behind the use of Chermiti. The heat's on them as well.
The heat very much is on them because, Manny Fernandez, £3 million from Peterborough. absolutely disappeared. Can't get into the squad. Max Aarons scored the goal at the weekend, but hardly seen since that red card in Bruges. So there will be heat on the recruitment department. Rangers needed to get the recruitment right. It sounds an obvious thing to say, but if you're going to challenge Celtic, or in this season challenge Celtic and Hearts, they needed the players, the right players to do it. Joe Rothwell is another one who started the season and is now getting 15 minutes off the bench in games. Ant-Man, I saw Ant-Man's debut, the home leg against Victoria Pilsen, and I thought he'll be a real asset to Rangers. And again, he hasn't found that form again. Mikey Moore hasn't really found the form that they were expecting of this wonder kid who's just got a new 5-year deal at Tottenham. So there is a focus on Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy and their recruitment, without a shadow of a doubt.
So Rangers Europa League against Sturm Graz away 8 o'clock Thursday night at the exact same time in the Conference League. Aberdeen against Shakhtar Donetsk. Great game, glamour tie. 2 questions: can Aberdeen win, or can they even score a goal?
It's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, no goals in the league so far. 1 point, bottom of the table. They're finding new ways to lose games of football now. Last midweek, Dundee United were just outclassed at Tannadice. I actually thought at Motherwell there were spells in the game at Motherwell where they looked okay. You're screaming at Lazetic in the 91st minute to knock it over.
It was a Robert McIntyre sandwich you needed.
Absolutely. You saw the lad from Clyde do it in the League Cup group stages, put it over Callum Ward and scored, and he just didn't back himself, and he made an awful mess of the finish. Motherwell go to the other end. Kutrumbis, you could have thrown your bonnet in the shot. And I've watched it about 15 times. I have no idea what Dimitar Mitov is doing. One of the best goalkeepers in the league, and he's just had one. And he knows he's had one. And then the heads go and they concede a penalty and it's 2-0 and they are absolutely on their knees. To be honest with you, Aberdeen fans, they love European football. They've got 3 home games coming in this league phase of the Conference League. Shakhtar Donetsk, one of the great names of European football. It's the last thing Aberdeen need at the minute. It is the last thing they need coming into town. Can they score a goal? I heard my pal Andy Halliday on the radio at the weekend saying, it's really hard not to score a goal for 6 games. It's really, really difficult, actually. Look at all the teams and all the leagues and all the world, and there'll hardly be any of them haven't scored a goal in 6 games. It's an awful long time. So they need to snap out it quickly. Good luck to them. I really love to see them beat Shakhtar Donetsk and get it going. But the longer it goes on, the harder it is for Jimmy Taylor.
I know. It seems to me he might get a bit of a free pass for this game just because of the opposition. But if it's a bad defeat...
If it's a bad one.
But then Aberdeen, a double header, Shakhtar then Dundee at home.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to think that if both go badly, he's still the Aberdeen manager coming out of an international break. Or is Dave Cormack, Alan Burrows, everybody up there so invested and so all in Jimmy Taylor that all they're doing is, like Andrew Cavan at Rangers, long term, think long term, we'll get through this.
Listen, possibly. They are deeply invested in him. And you can understand it because of May the 24th at Hampden winning the Scottish Cup. There's a deep pool of goodwill for Jimmy Tillane up there. But there has to be a tipping point. When does that tipping point come? I don't know. They're going to find that when they get into this Thursday, Sunday, starting this week, Shakhtar Dundee, and then they'll have 5 other Thursday, Sunday. It becomes tough. It cost Barry Robson his job at Aberdeen. It cost Robbie Nielsen his job at Hearts because they couldn't cope with it. They're already adrift at the bottom of the league. How bad did they let it get before they act? And you talk about a free pass for Shakhtar. I don't think there's such a thing as a free pass. If they lose 4-0, for instance, fingers crossed they don't. The Dundee one's huge because if, Dundee, you would think, are going to be one of the teams that's maybe going to be in that bottom 6. I know they're not at the minute, but they might be in the bottom 6. Dundee at home is one you would target for a win. But so are Falkirk at home and Livingston at home, and they get 1 point and no goals.
And that's the thing, just to kind of finally touch on Aberdeen, I always felt at the start of the season, because European commitments were going to come, they had to make a really good start, because they are going to drop points in between these European games. I mean, you look at you look at Celtic coming back from Red Star, nobody's really spoken about the fact Celtic come back for Belgrade Wednesday to play Saturday and drop points. Probably should have won the game, but it is hard for even the teams with the deepest of squads to cope with it. So Aberdeen have signed a lot of players, however the quality drop-off is probably going to be there. And by the way, the first team aren't doing it just now either. So it's I think the Dundee one is huge, and Jimmy Tilleen under huge pressure, as you say. Good luck to Aberdeen on Thursday night against Shakhtar Donetsk. It's going to be a great game. Really looking forward to Thursday. It's going to be a brilliant night for Scottish football, hopefully. And then Saturday night, 5:45 kick-off, down Gorgie, Tynecastle, potential champions Hearts against the pretenders Hibs.
I always say this with Edinburgh Derbies. I love Edinburgh Derbies, and I've been to some absolutely fantastic Edinburgh Derbies over the years. This could be up there with the very best. 5:45 on a Saturday evening. The place will be sold out. It will be bouncing. Hearts are top of the league. Derek McInnes has got them absolutely purring. Shankland scoring goals, as we said. This lad, Kizaridis, on the left wing, looks a terrific player. But every aspect of the team, the new goalie looks okay. Stuart Finlay's anchoring the defence with Craig Halkett. They're looking good. Harry Milne has suddenly emerged as a sort of right-sided midfield star. They've got all we hear is Claudio Braga up top between Shankland and Kizaridis. Everything's great. But I think Hibs are a good team. Third last season. They've strengthened the squad. They've got a point at Celtic Park. Grant Hanley, beloved by the Tartan Army, looks as if he's been quite an astute signing. I like Jamie McGrath's goal at Falkirk last week. And then you've got Boyle and Bowie. And Boyle has troubled Hearts in the past, as you well know. I think it's just set up to be a terrific game. If Hearts win, the hype train, my goodness, will be going like the clappers. If Hibs win, it will deflate Hearts a bit, and Hibs will believe that they can, after their Euro adventure at the start of the season, that they can come up into third place again. It's all to play for. It's going to be a really good game of football.
Before we go into the game again, the hype train, let's talk about the hype train. Is it justified?
Well, they're top of the league. If you go back 12 months, the hype train was running about Pittodrie because of the start Jimmy Tilleen had made, and people were saying, can they keep this up, are the title challengers? And of course, it was the greatest collapse of all time. Hearts, I think they're better placed to keep this going. They won't win the league. They won't win the league.
No chance.
No chance to win the league. It couldn't possibly happen. If you get to the end of January, and they're 2 points ahead of Celtic, I think the Celtic bank account will get cracked open and players will be brought in, and they do have more financial muscle than Hearts. They've started really well, Hearts, but I think also at the back of my mind is it's not that long ago they were 3-0 down at home to Motherwell.
I know.
And it's not that long ago that, was it Livy that missed a decent chance for a draw against them.
I was at that game. I was also at the St Mirren Hearts game where St Mirren put Hearts out of the cup.
Yeah, and I think they've done really, really well. They swatted aside Falkirk at the weekend with a bit of a swagger. I like them. They're not going to win the league.
You mentioned swagger. Hibs have got a bit of that about them. Do they come to Tynecastle with a swagger? Do you think David Gray would go in and maybe set up against Celtic a bit more conservative, still had attackers on the pitch? Is this a game, you spoke about the Edinburgh Derby, where two teams just go at it?
Yeah, I think Hibs will come and they'll try and win the game. They've got the players, they will feel they've got the players to take it Hearts on. Shankland against Hanley will be good. At the other end, I mentioned the two Hearts centre-halves, I've been really impressed with them. But Boyle and Bowie offer a different threat. And the middle of the park will be good because Hearts, for all the lovely play, we talk about Kizaridis is really impressed, great goal at the weekend, it's still Devlin and Beringame working away. It'll be interesting to see who Hibs put in there. He swapped it about a wee bit, quite like looking at Miguel Chawa. But they've got Barlasser, they've got Levitt, they've got Mulligan, they've got McGrath, they've got real options in there, so I'll be fascinated to see, he's shuffled his team around quite a bit in recent weeks, David Gray. You get to an Edinburgh Derby on a Saturday night at Tynecastle, it's your first 11. You're picking what you think is your best 11. There's no rotation or any of that now. So we're fascinated to see who he throws in there. But really, it'll be a really good game of football. And for all the Hearts are top of the league, you could not rule out Hibernian this weekend.
You mentioned Shankland against Hanley. What about Shankland against Bowie? Because both of them going for a Scotland squad call-up. Bowie gets a nod. Shankland been outstanding. doesn't get it. Steve Clarke did say, I know all about Lawrence, I'm watching him. Was he unfortunate to miss out? Was it the right call?
I think it was. It didn't surprise me in the slightest. Steve Clarke now is, for me, just settled completely into what he wants to do. Adams and Dykes are by far and away his first choice frontmen. I think George Hurst has come in and is the sort of first replacement, if you like. And then Bowie's the fourth man. Bowie didn't get involved in the 2 games last month, although albeit it was with the squad. But Tommy Conway, Middlesbrough are 4 points clear at the top of the English Championship. Tommy Conway's playing well for them, can't get in the squad. Remember James Wilson was captain at the end of last season as well, and is now kind of on the bench at Hearts and isn't involved. I just think those 4, including Bowie, are now ahead of Shankland and will probably stay ahead of Shankland, given the way Steve Clarke remains loyal to players.
A Hearts player who won't be involved in the derby, we don't think, but is involved in the Scotland squad, Craig Gordon. 42, nearly as old as me. Not played a game for 5 months, not even been on the bench this season. Thoughts? It's
a really strange one. I genuinely didn't see it coming. I know he's got problems with goalkeepers. Without doubt, he's got problems with goalkeepers. Just look at last month, he had 3, he had Angus Gunn, Xander Clarke and Liam Kelly, none of whom were playing for their clubs. And we've now got Craig Gordon rather than Xander, again, not playing for the club. Hasn't played since May for his club. He'll be 43, I think, on Hogmanay. Honestly, I was really surprised by it. If you're John McCracken at Dundee, if you're Scott Bain at Falkirk, you're as well forgetting all about it at the minute. Kieran Slicker, I don't think we'll see again. Ross Doohan, who played at the end of last season, was his third choice at Celtic. So he does have problems with goalkeepers. I assume, and I might be wrong, Angus Gunn plays in the 2 games and Craig's in the squad just to be Craig and give that bit of experience, and he's a popular guy and he's good about the place. It's a stranger selection and as unexpected a selection as I can ever remember.
We get a real problem though, just to touch on the goalkeeper stuff. We clearly got a short-term problem, but whether it's Steve Clarke that stays on beyond this World Cup campaign, or whether it's someone else, you don't really see, unless Angus Gunn can get back playing or any of the other ones you've mentioned, it's hard to see a future of Scottish goalkeeping. You've got Callum McKenna down at Bournemouth, but very, very young. Do we need to get the guys at SFA to go and unearth someone with links? Because it seems to me it's going to be such a crucial position that, and we've been blessed with amazing goalkeepers over the years.
Yeah, we have, and it's very difficult. Liam Kelly was playing every week at Motherwell and went to Rangers, I suspect for more money, but then doesn't play. Xander Clarke was number 1 at St Johnstone for years, but went to Hearts to understudy Craig Gordon for more money, but didn't play. Angus Gunn's gone from playing at Norwich in the Championship to go to Nottingham Forest in the Premier League, probably for more money. He's now third choice, and he isn't going to play. So it's difficult. You can't tell these guys with wives and families and mortgages and bills to pay. I'll tell you what, don't take that extra money, stay where you are on less of a salary and play for Scotland, please. It doesn't work like that. So, he's even seen the likes of Robbie McCrory, who he liked, is now over in Denmark, playing because he was third choice at Kilmarnock. So it's difficult. You would love to think John McCracken could emerge in Dundee and get, a real run under Stephen Presley. Trevor Carlson's not there anymore, he's away at Ross County, so McCracken is the number 1. Could he emerge? Could he find some form worthy of a Scotland call-up? I think Scott Payne's been doing really well, but he's not been capped since Alec McLeish was the Scotland manager.
That was up South American tour.
So that's a long, long time ago, so I think that boat's probably sailed. So, Kieran Slicker, he is playing for Barnet, but I think that Iceland game has probably put him on ice for a period of time. Who is there? The lad McKenna who went for Queen's Park to Bournemouth. But again, these are guys who are young and are not playing frontline football. It's a huge problem.
It is a huge problem. Scotland have a goalkeeping problem, but let's hope the country's coefficient is in safe hands. Good luck to Celtic, good luck to Rangers, good luck to Aberdeen. Stay across Scottish Sun website, Scottish Sun newspaper, all the social media channels for all the best of a real action-packed few days. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, and we'll be back again next week. Thanks for watching.